Different story for shares of CSX this morning, headed higher after results there. A slight beat on earnings, some favorable trends for the rest of the year, despite rising freight volumes, challenges from coal, and the Baltimore bridge collapse. Speaking of all of that, let's get to our Morgan Brennan with the CEO of CSX. Hey, Morgan.
Hey, Carl, that's right. So joining me now is Joe Hinrichs, the CEO and president of CSX. Joe, it's great to have you on. I'm going to start right there with the fact that you put up a quarter that was better than expected, but perhaps most notably, as we have seen this impact from the Baltimore bridge collapse, as we have seen things like bad weather that have affected the broader freight industry, you're maintaining and reiterating your full-year guidance. What gives you the confidence to do that?
Yeah, Morgan, thanks for having us on. We're building momentum in our business. So we saw sequential improvement quarter over quarter on the cost side of the business, and there is strength in key segments of our customer base, chemicals, autos, things like that. There is strong demand for export coal. So we're staying with our original indications for the year, which was single to mid-digit revenue and volume growth. We didn't deliver that all entirely in the first quarter, but we see strong activity in the second half of the year, but also building momentum with our customer base.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the Baltimore port impact. You have been diverting cargo to other ports. You opened up a new line. Last night, you outlined an impact of up to $30 million a month until that wreckage is cleared and that port can reopen. Walk me through the numbers and your expectations as you deal with this in real time on a daily basis of when we actually see that port potentially reopen and we get those freight flows moving again.
Yeah, Morgan, obviously a tragedy, and we're obviously prayers and thoughts out to the families of the 6 individuals who lost their lives. A lot of great work going on. I've talked to Governor Moore. We have people at the Unified Command Center in Baltimore. On the intermodal and the automotive side, a lot of that has been able to be absorbed in other ports, and frankly haven't seen too much impact as a result of that. The big impact for us, of course, is coal. 2 of the largest export coal terminals are inside that port, and there's strong demand for export coal around the world. Really, there's only 2 other export locations in the Norfolk Newport News area and then Mobile, Alabama. Mobile is pretty full already, and we're trying to reroute and do more work in that Newport News area. So some of that we've been able to offset. Our crews have been great about making that happen. Our customers are very happy with what we're doing. But until that port reopens, which we're hoping is towards the end of May for the larger vessel, the ocean vessel containers for coal, there were $25 to $30 million hit April and May, and then we'll see how June looks as we go on. But there's strong demand, so hopefully we can pick some of that up in the second half of the year once we get back up and running.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're talking about coal here because, and we've seen this particularly on the heels of the war in Ukraine. We've seen U.S. coal producers really see a resurgence in demand for their products. On the export side, most notably thermal, but especially metallurgical coal, as we're seeing an increase in steel making, both domestically and internationally. This shines a light on it. How does it also speak, though, to what we're seeing in terms of reshoring, in terms of infrastructure projects here in the U.S.? I was speaking to the CEO of Alcoa last night, who was talking about decarbonization and some of these other trends and what it's doing to drive demand for more of these types of projects.
Yeah, so on the export coal side, you're right. Metallurgical coal is in demand, whether it's in India or whether it's in the Eastern Europe, whether obviously for Ukraine, but also in all the growth we're seeing in India. And so on the world stage, more need for metallurgical coal. Also some thermal coal for obviously utility support in India, for example. But back in here in the U.S., we are seeing significant outreach and development opportunities on the industrial development side. You've talked about the whole steel, aluminum, all the metals side, a lot of new activity in the Southeast where we're located, but also continued growth in industrial development. We actually showed in our earnings call last night that over 500 projects are happening on our network over the next several years, just new developments. And it's not just electric vehicles. That's 13% of the activity. Most of it is aggregates, chemicals. It's even stuff like minerals, things that are going to bring metals, new business to America, and we're really excited about it. And it's not stopping, not at all.
And finally, saw a 7% jump in intermodal, particularly international being strong. And this is those container ships that come into port with some of those goods that tend to be headed out to consumers. The fact that we're seeing that jump, how much of that is Red Sea and Panama Canal disruptions and delays? How much of it is a reflection of maybe retailers restocking ahead of another holiday season later in the year?
Yeah, Morgan, we haven't seen a lot of impact from the Red Sea or Panama Canal. It actually is restocking. That, last year the numbers were down so much because of the inventory adjustments, and now that's being replenished. And of course, the consumer is active. So we're seeing, and the outlook we see is for that continues, more inbound activity to the port, so more international intermodal, which is one of the reasons why we see the volume growth for the rest of the year.
Okay, Joe Hinrichs, the CEO and president of CSX. Thank you for joining me. I also just want to say our condolences for your predecessor, Jim Foote, who passed away just earlier this week. We appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.